Maninder, what do you reckon? Because we're talking about India's reputation as such. If I was to ask you in terms of dividing a ratio or percentage, what would you say? Even before the first ball is bowled, what's it? 60, 40, 70, 30 or 50-50? What do you reckon when you look at both the teams?
I think it's going to be advantage India. There's no doubt about it because they're playing fantastic cricket and they've got these match winners, and it's not one or two. They've got 7, 8 match winners who could win you single-handedly on the day. And this format is such where, one big innings, we've seen in the past 2 games, Sanju Samson, the way he batted, and the others contributed what India has done. So I think, yes, it is a very good side. The bowling is not clicking at the minute, but I think it's Varun Chakravarti who has to come to the party. He started off well, but somewhere down the line, we've seen him slipping. But as far as the balance is concerned, I think the Indian team's balance, I find, is better. Even though New Zealand, you can't write them off at all because they've got those match winners as well. But I would say advantage India, 65-35.
Would you want the Indian team to do that? And if you could throw some light on why, because you also mentioned, earlier in the program that Varun's really not living up to the billing that he comes up with. What do you think could be the reason that he's just had a dip in form?
See, basically, this kind of a dip only happens if you've, if there is a fitness issue, if you've got a niggle or something. Only then this kind of a dip happens, because when he started the World Cup, he was getting wickets and he was bowling with a lot of confidence. But I'm seeing that, jittery. I'm getting that jittery feeling. He's jittering a little bit, and that only happens when you've got a niggle or something. And if that is the case, then I think Kuldeep Yadav is a good choice because, as Harbhajan said, that New Zealand don't play him too well. And those kind of bowlers you don't see in world cricket. There's not too many. And he's a top breed. He's got the googly, he's got the flipper, he's worked hard on his bowling. And, the best part about his bowling is that it's coming off the pitch now, which was not happening a couple of years ago. So he's worked hard as well. That is the only change I see. I don't see Abhishek Sharma being dropped. Yes, probably in the batting order, bat him at number 3 as we were talking yesterday. But otherwise, I feel that he's somebody who could win you the game. If he gets going, he'll just win you the game single-handedly. So at this point of time, I don't see Abhishek Sharma warming the bench, but probably Varun Chakravarti. If he's got a niggle, if he's not very confident, if his head is not right, then Kuldeep Yadav could be the one.
You're the captain. What are you doing?
See, it depends. If the due factor is there, then probably bowl first, bat second, as Sunny said, chase. But if you win the toss, I would, if the due factor is not there, I would like to bat first, because the kind of batting that Indian lineup has, they could get to a score of a 230, 240. And if they do that, I think that's going to be a lot of pressure on New Zealand, because chasing, always there's a pressure. Whatever the team batting first scores, that pressure is always going to be there, the score on the scoreboard. So probably win the toss, bat first, score a 230, 240, give your bowlers enough cushion even if there's a due factor. That is what I would like to do.
I know everyone's talking about Maninder Finn Allen. Very quietly, Tim Seifert is their highest scorer, the other opener in this particular World Cup.
And he scores runs quickly, so you can't really write him off, because he's somebody who could win you a game single-handedly, the way he goes after the bowlers and puts pressure on the bowling side. I think it's the 2 openers. You've got to get a breakthrough initially in the first couple of overs to put pressure on the New Zealand batting lineup. Otherwise, I think they've got, Phillips is doing well.
Yes.
They've got Darryl Mitchell. They've got batters who could score runs quickly. But I think if you get the openers out quickly, then you could really start believing that we could win this game pretty easily.
What really happens to them? How is it that a team that always stays a bit under the radar ends up punching above their weight when it comes to ICC tournaments?
See, I think the advantage that the New Zealand team has is there's not much pressure on them. There's not too many cricket lovers in New Zealand who are expecting them to do too well. They're not heroes in their country, like in India. You were talking about pressure when you started the show with Sunny and Harbhajan Singh. I think that pressure is always going to be on the Indians, because wherever you play, you get a lot of Indians in the stadium. And this is going to be played in India. So you can imagine the kind of support they're going to get, number one. And that support brings in pressure as well. But I think these boys, they know how to handle pressure, the Indian boys. As far as the New Zealand team is concerned, I think the biggest advantage they have is they don't have that kind of a pressure. And they come and enjoy their game because, Surya Kumar Yadav has been telling his boys that what you need to do basically is go and entertain the crowd. Yes. I think he needs to tell one more thing, go and enjoy your game as well. This is what the Kiwis do. They just go and enjoy the game. They just go and back themselves. That is exactly the Indian boys have been doing, and that is exactly what they need to do as well.
Maninder, Hardik Pandya, of course, one comes from the same state. Two, had a great time playing in this stadium when he was captain of the Gujarat team in the IPL, won the trophy as well. So that's a good choice. But if I was to ask you the same question, who are you going to pick?
Oh, it's a very difficult question.
There's
so many of them because Ishan Kishan, he can score runs quickly. Sanju Samson, the way he's batted in the previous 2 games, he's an amazing player. Abhishek Sharma, I think runs are due from his bat as well. Surya Kumar Yadav, Hardik Pandya, Tilak Verma. So there's a number of players, and then Jasprit Bumrah. So to name one, I think it's going to be very difficult because I find it, it's a team that is playing like a unit, and all these players that I've named, they are X factors in this Indian team.
Maninder, this particular game, I can see the crowd, and it's chock-a-block. This, no matter how ice cold you are or how much can you control your nerves, there will be a bit of your heartbeat going about 2-3 notches higher than normal.
It does happen, but then you know that these people are backing us, these cricket lovers are backing us, and sometimes that gives you a push. And I'm sure these boys that we're talking about, the Indian boys especially, they know how to handle this pressure. I think there's a lot of pressure in whatever cricket they play, wherever they go, because they know in their hearts that every Indian cricket fan wants India to win every game that they go in for. So that pressure is always there, but I think now they must be used to playing under pressure because this team that I'm seeing now, the way they are playing, they thrive under pressure, which is very important.
Maninder, does this make any difference? You said 65-35 even before the toss had been done. Now that New Zealand has won the toss, they'll be chasing on a ground that's known for having a bit of dew. Does your 65-35 change a bit?
Yeah, it goes to 64-36, basically, because I think the Indian team, Indian lineup, the batting lineup is so big. If they click, it's going to be a 230, 240, which is not going to be very easy, even though it becomes difficult, as you said, when the ball is wet, when you're bowling later on in the second half of the game, it becomes difficult for the bowlers. But if you have that cushion, if you've scored 230 odd runs, 225, 230, then it gives your bowlers a cushion as well. And I think these boys are experienced enough. They know how to bowl in those kind of conditions. I would still stay with 64-36.
Tell you what, I had said even before the team were announced that New Zealand are not playing their off-spinner, and Maninder here was asking me, how do you know toss is not done? How are you saying they're not playing the off-spinner? Guess what? They're not playing the off-spinner. McConkey, the off-spinner for New Zealand, who did some damage in that semi-final as well, versus South Africa, picked up 2 very crucial wickets. They've left him out of the 11. How do you see that? Because, Maninder, India were a bit susceptible against off-spin in this particular tournament. We saw everyone thought McConkey might bowl in the power play, but New Zealand have kept him out. What they've done is gone in with another extra fast bowler, Jacob Duffy, who did not play the last game, the fast bowler from New Zealand. He comes alongside. You already had Matt Henry and Lockie Ferguson. Jacob Duffy now joins them.
That's a bit of a surprise for me because, so many left-handers the Indian team has. And these days, it's become a kind of a norm that if you have too many left-handers, then, the fielding side, the bowling side normally like to have an off-spinner in the side. And they've dropped the off-spinner who was doing well, who was getting them wickets at the right time. So that's a bit of a surprise for me. And sometimes, when you're under pressure, because, we've been saying that New Zealand team won't have too much of pressure because there's not too many people in New Zealand expecting them to win the cup, or, it's not that the fans are not mad in New Zealand, but that pressure is always there. And sometimes under pressure, you do make such kind of decisions that surprise you.
I wonder whether this decision is based on the fact, is what I was picking up from Ahmedabad, that this is not going to offer any sort of turn for the spinners. Maybe hit the deck sort of bowlers might work. There was a school of thought that for India as well, maybe bring in a Mohammad Siraj for this particular game. It's a high scoring game. Sometimes hit the deck bowlers, fast bowlers do the job. Could that be the thinking, and that's why New Zealand have gone with this?
I think New Zealand basically trusts their faster bowlers more than their spinners because, one thought is that Indians are better players of spin bowling, even though in the past year or so we've seen that India has not been playing spin very well. But as you said, there might not be too much turn, so probably that's why they've taken the decision that have a faster bowler in the side, and probably this pitch has more life than the other pitches that New Zealand has played on, and that is why probably they've taken that decision.
Let's talk about the Indian team. The latest from the Indian team, no changes. Something that we reported on India today, that India is unlikely to make any changes, even though there were many experts that believed that some changes were required. Some believed in the batting department with Abhishek, some believed in the bowling department with Varun Chakravarti. Guess what? India has done none of that. They've gone with an unchanged 11. So, Maninder, they've decided to continue with that winning combination. How do you see that call by the Indian team?
That goes on to show the confidence the captain and the team management have in the boys. And I think they're playing like a unit, which is very important. They're enjoying each other's performance. And probably the coach and the captain thought that we are going to continue with the same team, which is not a bad idea, basically, because anybody could have an off day. And to drop the two players that we were talking about, number one batter in T20 cricket, Abhishek Sharma, and number one bowler in T20 cricket, Varun Chakravarti. I think they're both 100% fit, and that is why they're playing. And this is what is needed. You know, when you're not doing too well, the team management has to back you. And when they back you, you get that confidence, which you might have lost because you're not performing very well. But once your team management backs you, you probably start thinking that I've got something in me, that is why they're backing me, and they get their game back.
You know, got to love one thing about Indian cricket is the enthusiasm of the fans. As I said earlier, if the same amount of energy, even half of it can be carried by the Indian team onto the field, your job is all but done.
I have no doubt that the Indian boys are not going to carry that kind of energy on the field because they know it's the final. They know if they win it, there's a lot of first times that they could win against New Zealand in T20 World Cup. Third-time champions, winning World Cup back-to-back. No team has won on their home ground. So there's a lot of firsts to be achieved by these Indians. And, as far as energy is concerned, I don't think the boys are going to have any lesser energy than what we've seen so far.